What's up guys, in this video we're going to check out the Cinewhoop Cinerace20 V2 kit. This is the Cinerace20 without the O3 air unit in it. I have a brand new one right here. I'm going to show you how to install it in the drone. We're going to go over some specs on this thing and then we're going to take it out and see how it flies. Alright guys, so this is what's included in the Cinerace20 O3 kit. Again, this is the version that doesn't come with the O3 air unit, so you're going to have to buy one of those separately, but I am going to show you guys how to install that in this video. You get this drone with whatever receiver option you picked, and then you get this bag right here, and this has a couple bags of props. You get pretty much 8 props with this. You get this little card that tells you which way the propellers are spinning. You get a spare strap, there's already one on here. Specialized right angle USB-C cable to connect to the O3 air unit. You get a bag of screws, some extra pieces of foam, and a sticker. All right, so here's the drone. Let's just kind of rotate this around. You guys can take a look at it and go over some of the things that are on it. First off, let's start in the back. We've got the receiver zip tied back here. This comes with the TBS receiver. You can get this with an ELRS receiver, FrSky, TBS, or you can get a plug and play option where you would just solder up your own receiver. You have this TPU mount right here that's going to hold the antenna, and then it also is going to hold the O3 antenna once we get that installed. Looking at the top of the drone, we've got this single top plate right here that holds the battery, and we have a strap already installed. This is an XT30 pigtail. You're going to be able to hook up a 4S LiPo to this. Up front, we have a TPU piece that holds the O3 camera as well as a GPS. The GPS on this drone is the Goku GM10 Nano V3. I gotta be honest, I'm not really sure why you would need a GPS on a Cinewhoop like this, since you're not gonna be doing any long range flights with it, or at least I won't be, but I guess it's good to have since it's so small. But yeah, this TPU piece up front holds the GPS and the O3 camera. The ducts are plastic, and I'm pretty sure that these are 2-piece ducts. So once you take this bottom plate and this top plate off, I'm pretty sure that these, like, this is one set of ducts and then this is the other set, and they just kind of like clip together and then the plate holds it together. We'll be able to take a better look at that once we take this apart to get the O3 air unit in it. But they're made of completely plastic. This is in the pusher configuration. Surrounding the ducts, we've got some foam, and then above that is actually an LED. And I'll plug in a battery so you guys can see how bright this is. Pretty bright. You got the LED control board over on this side, and then you have a beeper over on this side. In the center, we have this carbon fiber plate, and this is actually holding the flight controller. We have this piece of foam to kind of protect it when you're landing, and then you have the USB over on this side. Looking at the motors, you have kind of a better view of them right now. These are Cinewhoop's NIN V2 1203 Pro 4850 kV motors. And then for props, you get a couple sets of these. These are Gemfan D51 5-blade props. So you get neon yellow and you get black. So now I'm going to take this top plate off. Like I said, it's held in with 2 screws. You've got a screw right there and a screw right there. We'll take a look at the flight controller, and then we're going to get the O3 air unit installed. All right, so now with that plate out of the way, we have a better look at the flight controller, and this is an all-in-one board. This is Cinewhoop's Goku GN405S 20 amp all-in-one board. This board features 8 megabytes for black box logs, 6 UARTs, a BMP 280 barometer, and mine came with BlueJay already installed. And then finally, this cable right here is the plug that's gonna plug right into our O3 air unit. All right, so here's the O3 air unit. I'm going to start off by unplugging this, and I have found that the best way to install this in this drone, because this drone is so small, is to do these things one at a time. The antenna, the O3 air unit itself, and then the camera all have to be installed individually. So let's start with the antenna. I'm going to start with a Phillips head bit right here. I'm going to remove these 2 screws right here. Take this cover off. We're going to unplug the antenna, and we're going to put this aside. So we're going to mainly just be focusing on the rear of the drone right now. So to keep this all kind of together, because as soon as you take these 2 screws out, everything just kind of like falls apart in a way, we're going to just remove this single screw right here. You don't have to remove anything else. So once you remove this, you're going to be able to move the ducts a little bit, and that's going to allow you enough room to get the UFL connectors on this antenna through here and through the little groove that's in the plastic for the ducts. So we can open that up a little bit. You can pull this out, and the best way to get this antenna in is feed these UFL connectors one at a time, kind of just in line like that. So one right after the other, push it through. Eventually they'll come out the other side, Got those two through, make sure they're going through that groove. And once they're through that groove, you can kind of get some tweezers in there and just make sure that you have them positioned exactly how you want. That's perfect. We'll push the antenna through the TPU so that it's holding it. Push it down as much as you can. And now we have the UFL connectors poking out right there in the center. So now we can put this back together and make sure that the TPU is underneath this rear bracket, or this rear carbon fiber piece, right like that. And make sure that the ducts aren't pinching any wires, and then screw this back in. All right, so there's our antenna. Next, let's do the camera. Now we do the camera the same kind of way that we did the antenna. We're just gonna remove this screw. Now that we have this one in, this screw is gonna pretty much just hold everything together. So remove this, like that. And now the front part will be able to pull open a little bit, and then this TPU piece will fall out. So now we can take our O3 unit and we're gonna remove the camera now. This is also a Phillips head, so just remove these two Phillips head screws right here. So once those two screws are loosened, you can take this bracket off. The camera just unplugs like that. And now the ducts on the front also have that cutout for the wires. So we're gonna just feed the O3 camera wire through that. And then just reach in and grab the O3 camera wire. Like that. We can remove these 4 screws that come on the O3. Slide the camera into the TPU mount. Make sure that you have the DJI text right side up. You don't want to install this upside down because then you're gonna have to take it apart and fix it. Make sure that these holes line up on the TPU piece. I'll show you on one side, and then the other side is going to be the exact same. You got 2 holes, one right here, one right there. Take these screws that were in the camera and just screw it down, and that'll hold it in place. Now that bottom one's in, let's get this one. Looks good. Now let's do the same for this side. Make sure those are nice and tight. Give it as much or as little camera tilt as you want, and now we can make sure that that is through the hole in the ducts. Make sure you're not pinching anything. That looks good. You can kind of see, hopefully you guys can see that in between the ducts there's this little gap right here. That's meant for the wires. So now we can position this again. Make sure the TPU is in between on the bottom side, in between the carbon fiber piece and the frame. All right, so last step is installing the O3 Air unit itself. So when we're installing this, just take into consideration that they have cutouts like this and like this so that you can easily access the USB port. So we're gonna install the O3 Air unit in this orientation, and it's gonna be mounted to the top plate. So when we're installing it, this mounts to the camera, and then the antenna mount is down the bottom. So let's get the antennas all mounted up, and then we'll continue to the top part. There's 1 and 2. So we got both antennas hooked up. So now we can take the little cage that kind of makes sure that those don't come undone. Position it right like that. Now we can take this, put this on, and we're gonna screw both of those screws on. All right, so with that on there, next we can plug it into this plug that's attached to the flight controller. With that screw out, we can open this up a little bit, and before I put the O3 Air unit in, I'm actually gonna plug the camera in just so that's ready to go. And when we do this, we're only gonna put one of these screws in. Because this is gonna be screwing to the top plate, I'm gonna keep this screw hole open, and we're actually gonna remove this screw right here. And we're gonna put the bracket on and only screw this screw in. And now we can kind of push this down into place, and this is just gonna sit right underneath everything, right like that. All right, that's good. All right, so we got the O3 Air unit in there. Let's get this bottom screw back on to help kind of just keep this all together. This O3 cable, I'm just gonna push down in here and it's gonna just kind of fit. There we go. Got the O3 camera cable down there. The O3 unit itself just clicked into place. Got all the wires in the grooves, nothing's being pinched. So now it comes down to just mounting this. So the way that this is gonna work is we've got two in your bag of screws. They give you two, I think, yeah. They give you these two. This is the M1.6 by 12 screws. We're gonna use both of these. And we're gonna put one through that hole right there, and then one through that hole right there. So that one goes right through there. Get that in a little bit, and then we can get, oh, I forgot to remove this Phillips head, so just remove that now. Right like that. Make sure that they're both tight. Looks good. And now we can rotate the top board to line up with these holes. This should be sitting on top of the TPU piece. Adjust the TPU piece as you need to. Pull the antenna out to get a little bit more wiggle room. And now we'll take these last two screws right here, put it in through the top, and screw them down. All right, so now you've got the O3 air unit all installed. Pretty sure I did that right. I didn't get any instructions on how to install it, so if I did something wrong, flywoo, somebody, leave a comment down below and I'll pin it. But I'm pretty sure that it's just those two Phillips head screws that go through the top plate. Again, if it's wrong, someone tell me. All right, so now last step, obviously we gotta throw some props on here. So according to this little sheet right here, we're gonna want motors 1 and 4 spinning counterclockwise, and motors 2 and 3 spinning clockwise. So they're gonna be like that. Let's install them. All right guys, props are on. This thing's pretty much ready to go. In the footage you're about to see, I'm gonna be filming with the O3 air unit, but I'm also gonna be using some of these Flywoo ND filters. In this kit, you get an ND4, ND8, ND16, ND32, an ND64, a UV filter, and a CPL filter. So I'll probably be using the ND16 since I'm gonna be filming outside. And the way that these ND filters clip on is you have a little groove on the bottom of the ND filter, and then you have a lip on the top and bottom of the O3 camera. So the bottom one is gonna fit right in like that, and then the top lip is gonna fit through this groove in the ND filter. So it clips on right like that, and you've got an ND filter. Obviously wipe it down, don't leave your thumbprint on it. Let's see how this thing flies. All right guys, time for my honest thoughts on this thing. All of that footage that you just saw was filmed on this drone with the O3 Air unit in 2.7K 4x3. For the outdoor footage, I was using actually an ND8, still on here. For the indoor flight footage, I wasn't using an ND filter at all. As far as flying this drone indoors goes, it's very smooth. I really like the tune on it in general for just indoor flying. I'm planning on putting my own rates on it to make it a little more dialed into how I like to fly indoors, but indoors is where I would primarily use a drone like this. When I film my real estate fly-throughs, I use a 2.5-inch Cinewhoop because I feel like it can handle the outdoors and the winds a little bit better than 2 inches. I feel like 2-inch Cinewhoops get blown around very easily compared to 2.5-inch or 3-inch Cinewhoops. When I was flying this outdoors, I definitely noticed the wind and it was a little bit difficult to fly. I feel like if the ducts were more prop guards instead of ducts, kind of like this drone right here, this is my QAV 2.5-inch Cinewhoop, but this doesn't have ducts. It's kind of like open. So I feel like this one just cuts through wind a lot better than something like this. Regardless, I think in general, you're just gonna notice that 2-inch Cinewhoops like this are more easily affected by wind. I was seeing about 5-minute flight times with this RDQ720 mAh 4S LiPo. I didn't get any overheating warnings while I was flying, which I was actually pretty surprised about. Installing the O3 Air unit isn't exactly the easiest procedure, but it can get done with some patience. If you don't feel like installing your own O3 Air unit in it, you can get this drone with the O3 already installed. But overall, I'd say if you're looking for a drone that's under 250 grams, that's capable of filming in 4K, this is one of the best options out there. Actually, I didn't even put this thing on a scale for you guys yet. So this is with the RDQ720 4S. 208 grams. 208 grams, you get a 4K Cinewhoop. It's pretty cool. So yeah, under 250 grams, 4K, plus it just looks pretty cool with this LED on. Now that I'm actually starting to really like the quality of the O3 camera, I've wanted to film an entire real estate drone tour with a drone like this, and I will probably end up filming it on this drone. So keep an eye out for that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave the video a like, and if you have any questions about the Cinerace20 V2, leave a comment down below.